Hello y'all, and welcome to YoungFolkKnits. Today I'm going to be chatting about the Magnum Opus knitting pattern. What is it and how do I choose it? Hello y'all, and welcome back to YoungFolkKnits. If you're new here, my name is Casey, and on this channel I share all about my love of fiber arts. So there's knitting, spinning, crochet, sewing, whatever I might be up to at the moment. And also occasionally I share about living on a small farm here in Arkansas. If any of that sounds like it might be your cup of tea, then make sure and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on any future video content. Today I am focusing on an idea, a thought that has recently come to me. After many years of knitting, and dare I say it, 100 sweaters, I mean, it's beginning to border on the ridiculous how many sweaters I have in the stacks in my closet. I really don't need anything specific to add into my wardrobe. Sure, there are different little things that I could add because it would be nice, but I've got a lot of sweaters. So in chatting with some knitting friends, I recently had this epiphany that what I'm craving, what I want to knit instead of a basic sweater is a special sweater, something that I would be so proud to wear both at home or at an event, something that captures my sense of creativity and self on a canvas, which instead of a piece of art that I would hang on the wall, my canvas would be my sweater that I knit. It would include colors that I have chosen, a pattern that I love, the yarn choice, everything that goes into it would be a reflection of my creative journey. Does that sound really stupid? Probably a little bit hippy dippy, but anyway, I'm still here. I'm still in this place, and I think it's worth exploring. So it really got me to thinking, what would be that extremely special knit? What would be my magnum opus piece that I feel would be such a fun representation of me as a knitter? And after thinking about it for a while, I'm not sure there is just one of those patterns. And if you knit for years and years and years, I feel like that's going to change what you think of as super special, what you love. It may change from year to year even. But I have compiled a list of patterns that I find are very special to me for different reasons. My tour de force, so to speak. What would I choose? I don't know. I have some options because I have been thinking about this. Before we dive headlong into all the knitting patterns, I would like to give a special thank you to the sponsor of today's video, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is actually the largest online learning community for creatives like us. It has such a wide breadth and depth of topics that no matter what you're interested in learning about, there's going to be a class for you. While I have been knitting for many years, a skill I continue to try to hone is fitting my knitted garments to my ever-changing body. An amazing class to help with this is Perfect Fit Knits, Understanding and Modifying Knitting Patterns. This class is taught by Brandy Cheyenne Harper, who's an interdisciplinary artist and knitting guide living in Brooklyn, New York. I feel like this class is so perfect regardless of where you are in your knitting journey because it teaches you to take a pattern you love and customize it. You'll learn not only how to take key body measurements, which are invaluable in making modifications that work for you, but you can take those measurements and learn to adjust your chest width, sleeve length and size, your waist, and the shape. With this class, you can make a customized piece while still honoring the original pattern design. What a perfect way to take your magnum opus knit and make it even better by being the perfect fit for your body. Skillshare has such a great community where you can share your projects with other creatives and get inspiration and tips. So whatever your interest might be, photography, animation, creative writing, fine art, music, crochet, knitting, web development, there's going to be a class for you with expert instructors in the field. And that is why I'm so excited to partner again with Skillshare this month. The first 500 people to use the link in my description will receive a free 1-month trial of Skillshare. So choose a topic and you can get started today. Thanks again, Skillshare, for sponsoring today's video. So let's talk about knitting patterns. Like I mentioned before, the first things that really popped into my mind were designs with either intricate texture, i.e. cables or lace, or beautifully intricate color work. Maybe all over, lots of colors, something that made it special. The first design that I saw and immediately fell in love with, it came out right as I was beginning down this journey of finding a Magnum Opus knit, was a pattern by Augustins DK, and it is called the Northern Augustins number 7. This is a beautiful, very dramatic sweater, which is made more wearable by the colors that were used in the original sample. So this pattern used a DK weight yarn, but it had a gauge of 22 stitches. As soon as I saw the 22 stitch gauge, I knew immediately that I wanted to use Sonder Yarn Co. the Luxe Sport Base, which is an all-time favorite of mine. I also immediately knew that I loved these soft colors because I feel like it took this all over color work sweater, which is very dramatic, with large sleeves, a beautiful circular yoke, a large folded collar, and beautiful, almost cathedral inspired color work design. These beautiful muted colors make it something that you can wear everywhere. I ended up choosing Personal Space as my contrast color, which is this beautiful blue green, very dusty, along with flat white, which is such an incredible neutral. I love that it's not too yellow. It's just this great neutral pairing. The softness of this yarn is incredible. So it's 65% BFL, 25% Masham, and 10% cashmere. Not only does that cashmere add some luxury to it, but also the way this is plied. I believe this is a 3-ply. It's just very round and very soft. So I think that it would be absolutely perfect for this 22 stitch gauge color work sweater. I am a loose knitter, so I for sure will have no issue using this sport weight yarn to get a 22 stitch gauge. It also blooms beautifully. I've used it in another sweater I recently finished and have been wearing a lot. So I know that the yarn would be perfect, and I think the sweater would be incredible. Now it does have these big dramatic sleeves, and it is this very oversized fit to the sweater. And I was talking with Melissa from Sonder Yarn Co. and I told her that if I did this sweater, I really don't see it as a very long sweater, but instead as oversized and a little bit more cropped, where it hits closer to the top of a high-waisted pant. And I could do a French tuck that way and have a billowy sort of oversized sweater, but have that boxy fit to it and keep the dramatics, just not so long. I think that would make it much more wearable for me. So that is option number 1. The next colorwork sweater I found and added to my list of possibilities is a pattern by Tanya Barley. I'm not sure if it's Tanya or Tanya, but I'm gonna go with Tanya. And the name of this pattern is Obsidian. It's absolutely beautiful. It has stunning color work. And in the sample, there's a high contrast, which really makes the color work pop and be the focal point of this sweater. So it's a DK weight gauge, 22 stitches well, and I believe woolen twine was the yarn used in the sample, which I love woolen twine yarn. I'm a huge fan. I again would possibly use the Sonder Sport because it's a little bit easier for me to get a hold of. It's always in stock. There's not a shop update that I would need to wait for, and it is a great color selection. Another amazing option I think would be Double Sunday by Sandnes Garn. I think that's a great DK weight yarn with lots of color options. There's so many different possibilities in that 22 stitch gauge. I, again, probably would not make it too long. I'm really a fan of the more cropped sweaters whenever they're circular yokes. I find that fits me a little bit better. It seems to look better proportionally on my body. And I think I would probably do bracelet length sleeves. They look like they're straight sleeves, which then come in a little bit more tightly at the cuff. And I think that would look really cute with a bracelet length sleeve. So this is another contender. It's beautiful. I think that color wise, I'm not sure. I really like the original charcoal color with the oatmeal as the contrast. I also think it would be really lovely with a dark green background and a sort of grayish color as the contrast. So lots of different options. I'm still thinking through what I would choose if I went with this pattern. My next color work option is actually one that I am spinning the yarn for, and that in itself is what elevates this pattern, in my opinion, to a very special knit. I feel like this pattern has had its moment in a sense. I know that when I went to Rhinebeck 2 years ago, everybody was wearing something pressed flowers, and I heard that last year there were a lot of people wearing pressed flowers. So I feel like it has definitely had a moment to shine at the festivals, and that is okay. I do think that this is an enduring pattern that is always going to be beautiful, and I'm not tired of it. But I think that what would make this extra special to me is the fact that I have chosen some fiber that I truly love. I'm spinning it up, so it's a little bit more of a grassroots project for me. I'm starting at making the yarn, and then I'm going to take that yarn and make the sweater, and I think that is very special indeed. So the colors I have chosen for the pressed flowers cardigan, inspired by New York Year, I believe is the Instagram handle. It's New York Year, I believe. But oh my goodness, they're absolutely amazing maker. I love everything they make. But I really was inspired by the blue pressed flowers cardigan that she made. So I got some sport weight yarn from Red Stag Fiber, and this is a Polworth and Matcham blend, so it's really lovely. And this is a French waistcoat color. So to pair with that, I am spinning this yarn right here, which is a mix of some alpaca, camel, wool, and silk blend, as well as some merino that I am using for a combo spin. So that's going to be my contrast color. I think it's going to go so well with this blue, and I can't wait to get this done. I think that not only is the texture and the flower motif extremely special, but I feel like my yarn and just knowing that I created the yarn will make me so proud to have this item in my closet. Okay, the last color work pattern I want to share is one by Gudrun Johnston. A few years ago, Gudrun released a Shetland Trader book, which was part of a series, and this was book 3, and it's amazing. I want to make everything in it. It is the epitome of my favorite style, which is retro 70s and wool inspired. So it's perfect. And the sweater in particular is the Veer sweater. Now, there's multiple options, and I love that she showcased a few different ways that it could be knit up. And my favorite went back and forth between the first original sample with the black yarn, which was actually one that I was planning on knitting, but after a while I decided that I think my favorite leaned more towards the brown sweater version with fitted sleeves and the orangey pink oatmeal contrast colors in the color work here at the chest. It had a plain color, single color body, and I think that that would be a little bit more flattering for my body type, a little bit easier for me to wear, but in general, it's still just a stunning sweater. So I did get the yarn for this a while back, excuse the crinkling. But this is the number 4 brown in the Jamieson Smith. What is this? A jumper weight 2-ply. But I love that brown color. And then I have one each of all the contrast colors I'm keeping safely in here so I don't lose them. I think that this would be a super fun project, not too difficult. It even has staking in the sleeves so that you can continue to knit the section here in the round. Even though it's more like a drop shoulder construction, the steeped sleeves keep it in the round, which is nice if you're working color work. And I think it would be a lovely, lovely addition to my wardrobe. Something very special, something that you can't really buy in a store anywhere. And the uniqueness and the beauty of it, the special Shetland yarn, all of it just gives it a quality of, should I say it, je ne sais quoi. It's just a beautiful pattern paired with beautiful yarn. All right, now let's chat about some cable-y sweaters. First up, which I have to include in any Magnum Opus considerations, is the Nightingale pattern, which is designed by Nora Gone, who's an absolute genius in every way. This pattern speaks for itself. When you look at it, it is a showstopper. And knit up in this deep teal blue yarn makes it even more amazing. I have been drooling over the pictures in this Pom Pom magazine since the day it was released. It is incredible. The styling is incredible. The colors are incredible. So you've got this gorgeous all over cabled masterpiece. And then even the neckline has this beautiful picot edging, which just adds to the amazingness of it. I love these full, almost puff sleeves. They're gathered at the shoulder, which is beautiful. And then you have a very unique ribbing at the bottom as well. So everything about this sweater, from the ribbing to the cables to the neckline, it's all a little bit extra and it's all incredibly beautiful. I would be proud to wear this anywhere. And at a 20 stitch worsted weight gauge, I feel like it's not going to take me 2 years to knit. So I love that fact. Okay, another fantastic cable knit sweater is one by Sari Nordland, and it is the Stars Hollow pullover. Now, I've shared about this pullover before. It's so beautiful. It's just this incredibly classy, classic cable knit sweater that makes me think of Marilyn Monroe wearing it at a ski lodge in Vermont. I love it. I also think I could see the Laird in Scotland wearing it. I just, everything about it is beautiful and timeless. And those cables are showstoppers if I've ever seen them. So this is knit up at a 17 stitch Aran weight gauge. And the yarn that Sari used was actually Kelburn Woolen's Lucky Tweed. Now, I have been wanting to try this yarn for a long time, and when Sari released this sweater, it was so beautiful. The yarn looked so amazing, and I loved the color that she chose. So I ended up buying the exact same yarn in the exact same color for this sweater. I think it is so perfect and would be incredibly beautiful and very neutral with this color. So it would go with many things, but you're getting a little bit of a wow factor from those cables. There's just no getting around it. It is very spectacular. I think Sari did a great job. This is not your average cabled sweater either. I think a lot of times the cables are toned down, they're smaller. This is a little bit in your face in the best way, and I personally love it. I think this would be a sweater I would be incredibly proud to wear and say, why, thank you, I did make it. So now a couple of lacy patterns. First of all is another one by Sari Nordland, because I love everything Sari makes, and it is the Acorn sweater. I've chatted about this sweater many times now on this channel, and it's because I have a love affair with it that will not quit. It is so beautiful. I actually tested this sweater and I didn't get all the way done with it because I was using the same yarn that Sari used, which is a yarn that I absolutely love. I've used it in so many projects, but I've never used it together before. And it is the Copy base, which is a singles yarn from Farmer's Daughter Fibers, and that was held with a lace weight Odang base, which is Surrey alpaca. Now the Surrey alpaca is considered a lace weight, but it is absolutely thicker than a lace weight mohair. In fact, it's almost double. It's almost like 2 strands of a lace weight mohair in my opinion. And because of that, I had a lot of hand pain working at the gauge, which is required. You know, you need to meet gauge for a test knit. And that combination at that gauge was really hard on my hands. So I ripped it out, and I didn't finish the test knit. I just could not do it. But I am going to instead knit it with this yarn, which is from Farmer's Daughter Fibers as well, and it is the Reminisce base. This is the color Mini Moons, and that's the same color that Sari used in her sweater, but she of course used the other yarn combination. This is a 2-ply. 2-ply is perfect for lace. It's so lovely. It really opens up beautifully. You get the nice lacy eyelets that show off so well with a 2-ply yarn. And this is so soft. This is a sport weight, so I feel like it's going to be a lot easier for me to get gauge without having to go down too far on a needle size, which I find is just not enjoyable for me to knit with. If I have to go down on a needle size too much to get gauge, then I just have to use a different yarn, because it's not really feasible for my poor old hands. When I make this sweater, I want to do a couple of things different. I think that I want to make the lace pattern actually end right at my right above my natural waist, and then I'd like to do a really long ribbing, and I want it to still be semi-cropped so that it hits right below the waistband of my high-waisted jeans, and that way I can tuck it into the top of my jeans or my skirts. And I feel like this would just be a super cute look. I love the lace pattern itself. I love the shaping on this sweater. It's got everything that really calls to me, and I think that in the lighter color you can really see it well. It shows it off beautifully. So I am making this no matter what, and it is very high on my list as the knit. Last up is actually a vest, and it is the Urus Slipover by Aegyo Knit. This is one that I actually started, and I'm using a DK weight yarn. So this pattern calls for an Aran weight, but it has a 21 stitch gauge. I absolutely could never get a 21 stitch gauge with an Aran weight yarn, I believe. I think that perhaps the designer might have used 2 yarns held together. I'm not entirely sure, but with a US 8 needle, I probably need a heavy DK weight, and even then it's going to be close on a 21 stitch gauge. So what I'm using is the Harrisville Daylights yarn. It's a really nice DK weight yarn, which I think blooms beautifully, and that cormo will work really well. It'll puff up to what you need it to, I think. And these cables, the way this is knit, it's not your average slip over. This is knit sideways. It's highly textured. It's very eye-catching, and it is open on one side. The use of toggle buttons, I think, gives it a little bit extra something as well. And I just think everything about this is beautiful. It's not a crazy difficult pattern, but it is really lovely, and I don't have anything like it in my closet. So I think this would be a really fun knit. Is it worthy of being a Magnum Opus knit? I don't know. I'm very much drawn towards the Augustins colorwork sweater. In my head, I feel like I definitely see color work, intricate color work, as a very special sweater, possibly because cables don't feel very difficult to actually knit up, although they can be extremely intricate and take some time. they are really enjoyable and more of a quick knit for me compared to color work. Color work is something that takes a lot of focus for me to try to have a nice gauge, a nice even tension, very nicely laid out colors with the contrast color in the foreground of your knit. There's a lot that goes into it. And because of that, I'm very drawn to some of these color work designs. But I'd be interested to hear what you think. I've been chatting about this for a while with some different knitters, and I have loved hearing their opinions and what would be their magnum opus knit. Let me know in the comments what yours would be, or some patterns that would be contenders for you. Also, let me know what you think I should knit as my magnum opus. And maybe I just need to knit all of them. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoy videos like this, make sure and give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to take advantage of that 1-month free trial for Skillshare by clicking the link in my description. Until next time, happy knitting, y'all.